Hi guys, today is the first day of Black History Month. Of course, many of you know that in the United States, February has been designated as Black History Month, and it gives the opportunity for people to highlight the important accomplishments of Black people over the time. And I'm going to talk to you today about why it's important to still have Black History Month and some things you can do with your children to highlight the importance of Black history in general. So let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about why we still need Black History Month. It was created many years ago, and people are like, do we still need to highlight Black history? Yes, for many reasons. In just the last year, in 2020, we've seen the reasons why Black history is important. A lot of time, Black people are portrayed in the media in a negative light. And people view that and kind of associate a negative stereotype with Black people. And they forget that Black people have so many positive contributions to our American history, and Black History Month forces us to reflect on that and to highlight those accomplishments and to not have the media kind of only present the negative stereotypes of Black people. And so even at my daughter's school, when she was younger, she was often the minority in her class. And I would say, yes, y'all still need to talk about Black History Month, even though you only have 1 or 2 Black students in your class, because it's important to everybody. Just like you teach American history and we learn about other cultures, Black history is a culture that is important to learn about as well. The students in her class, her friends, they're going to grow up to be teachers, judges, police officers, people in power. And if they have this negative stereotype about a certain culture, it impacts how they interact with people. And so I think it's important not just for Black children to learn about Black history, but for all children to learn about Black history. And so I think that it's important, even now more than ever, to emphasize with your children, but also to emphasize with your children who have friends that are not of the same culture. And just like you would encourage them to learn about other cultures, kindly encourage them to learn about Black history as well. I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can highlight Black History Month. And the number one idea is to actually support Black-owned businesses. A lot of these Black-owned businesses, they have books that they've actually put out. They put out apparel. This is from My Pride Apparel, and I'll link it in the description below. But you can support Black-owned businesses as a way of honoring Black History Month. I'm going to give you some ideas about some books and some movies that you can actually read and watch with your children to kind of let them know about Black History Month for this month. So give me 1 second, I'll bring them out for you. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I have an older daughter, and when she was in the 5th and 6th grade, I suggested to the teachers that they do something for Black History Month. And so for her math teacher, I suggested them watching the movie Hidden Figures, where it talks about these Black mathematicians that worked at NASA. I'm based in actually Houston, Texas, and that's where NASA is. So I said that would be a good opportunity to highlight some Black women who were mathematicians and worked at NASA before, they even wanted to allow them in there. And it stars Taraji Henson and Janelle Monáe and some other people, but that would be one movie. I don't have that with me right now, but another movie would be The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And it stars Oprah Winfrey, and it talks about the history of Henrietta Lacks, who they actually used her cells to kind of, they experimented on her cells without her permission, and they used it to actually make headway on cancer research and other kind of research dealing with cells. Her cells have actually lived, like, it's immortal. They actually are still alive, I believe, and they still are using it to experiment. And it talks about the story about how her family realized later down the line how they were using, without permission, Henrietta Lacks' cells and making money off of it as far as medical treatment they were giving. So I think it's another good movie this is for, I guess, the 12, 13-year-olds, even maybe 11-year-olds. So 11 to 14 age range would be for Hidden Figures and for The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. For those of you who have younger children, I have also a 3-year-old son. I actually have some books that range from 3 to 8 years old that I think will be beneficial. I asked my son's school what they were doing, and they didn't give me a good answer. So I said, well, can I donate some books for you guys to read with the children? And they said, sure. So I got this book by Patrice McLaurin, Have You Thanked an Inventor Today? And it highlights different inventors who some of these kids may not even know they invented these things. And it basically, they're 3 years old and maybe 5 years old can even appreciate it, but it basically introduces them to people other than Thomas Edison invented things. It gives them black inventors that they can remember when they grow older as well. And she also has another book, Have You Thanked the Kidventor Today? And I'll link all this in the description box. And it talks about inventions that were started by children, black children. So I thought that was cool because kids can relate to it. And I think, like I said, I think the age range might start at 5, but you know, it's never too young to introduce children to information. You don't know what's going to stick with them. So I got these 2 books by the same author to donate to his school. And then I got this book, Mae Among the Stars. And this is written by Rhoda Ahmed. And she wrote the book about Mae Jemison, who was one of the astronauts, the first black woman astronauts to go into space. And it talks about her journey from a kid's perspective. And I think this range says ages 4 through 8. And it's I like the book because, I'll give you a little review about it. It's very colorful and it's kid friendly. It gives them some information, not too many words on a page, but it gives them information about who Mae Jemison was from a kid's perspective. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm going to donate these books to my son's school. I have some books for him at home, and one of the books is written by Lupita Nyong'o. I think I'm pronouncing her name wrong. You know, the actress from Black Panther and other movies. She wrote a book. There's her picture. She wrote a book called Sulwe, and it's about a little brown girl. She's darker skinned, and she's wondering why she doesn't look like any of her family, her mom, her dad, her sister, and she doesn't want to be dark anymore because it has negative attributions according to her, and she wishes she can be like the light. And so it kind of shows a journey about how she accepts who she is as a darker complected child and appreciates that they're all different kind of complexions, and it doesn't make her complexion negative for her. So it's called Sulwe. So I got this one from Target. And just as a sidebar, Target has some pretty decent books featured in the front, like right when you walk in the door. Some Black History Month apparel, Black History Month books. So shout out to Target for actually being forward thinking in that. And then the last book I'm going to talk about is The ABCs of Black History. And this is for a little older crowd. This says ages 5 and up. And it goes by each letter of the alphabet, and it talks about different things. So let's say for P is for Panther. Black Panther. And it talks about Huey P. And other presidents. Obama being P for president. Talks about Obama being the first black president of the United States. And I really like how it goes through each alphabet letter and kind of gives them something to associate it with that has to do with Black history. So I got this book also from Target, I believe, and I'll link all the information in the description box below. But those are just the little things that you can do with your children, read books or movies to kind of celebrate Black History Month. Comment below and let me know what you're going to plan on doing with your children for Black History Month to kind of celebrate. Give us some ideas.